Hello and welcome to another episode of Bitcoin in Asia. Our guest this week is Igor Runets, founder and CEO of BitRiver, a large-scale mining data center operator in Russia with triple-digit megawatts in the Irkutsk region of Siberia. Igor founded and successfully ran a data center business out of university focused on setting up cloud infrastructure in more difficult parts of the world for Western clients, and then found Bitcoin and his new calling while getting his MBA at Stanford. We talk about his going full steam into Bitcoin mining, spending some time in Beijing, and then setting up operations in Siberia in that process, the infrastructure and regulatory issues at play for energy access in Russia and the CIS region, trends he is seeing in demand for mining from institutional customers, both from Russia and abroad, and more. Hope you enjoy this focus on Bitcoin mining in Russia. Hello, Igor. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
I'm fine. Hello. How are you?
Good. Joining us from Moscow today, right?
Yes, correct.
Great. Well, for those who aren't quite familiar with you yet, can you kind of share a brief background of some of your school history, work history in Russia?
Yeah, sure. First of all, my name is Igor Runets, and currently I am CEO of BitRiver. So I did my computer science and electrical engineering degree at Ural State Technical University with honors. During my studies, I joined a pretty large engineering company in Russia. We did several projects in different industries across the whole country, neighboring countries like energy, oil and gas, transportation, energy distribution. I graduated in 2009, and pretty soon after that, I launched my own business. In 2010, I launched my own company in telecommunications and data center space. In 2010,
sure.
I launched a telecommunication business, which pretty quickly transformed in a pretty unique business model. So we were helping companies primarily from the United States, from Western Europe, to deploy points of presence, like IT infrastructure, in unusual markets. First of all, it was like Russia and neighboring countries, Russia, Kazakhstan, Ukraine, Belarus. But after that, we focused on all unusual markets like Africa, Latin America, Asia, Central Asia, Russia, whatever. So kind of American clients, European clients were reaching out to us. All right, we have some clients in that certain region in different parts of the world, and they're not satisfied with quality of IT services. Can you help us deploy in data center services like cloud infrastructure in that region? And we were helping them with that.
Yeah, I can imagine how that'd be super relevant to some of the stuff you're doing now. And when you're working on different continents, setting up cloud infrastructure, setting up data centers, and your client base was pretty global at that point, from North America, from Europe, Russia?
I would say at that point, it was primarily United States and some countries from Western Europe. Russia wasn't... Okay, we got several pretty large clients from Russia, but I would say that our key market was the United States at that point.
Interesting. So Western companies looking to set up in places that were hard to reach. You had the expertise in doing that. Very cool. Yeah. And that was your kind of right after college. Essentially, you started that company. A year or so after jumping into entrepreneurship right after university. Was that a common thing to do, or were you kind of an outlier?
I would say I was an outlier at that moment, and it was primarily kind of family background because my dad was initially he was in military, but after Soviet Union collapsed, he got into entrepreneurship. He tried probably 20 different business ideas, 20 different lines of business before got successful. As a child, I was kind of observing his attempts to launch different businesses.
Yeah, okay.
I always remember him trying some business idea. That would fail. That would fail
Oh my
after 1
goodness.
month of running. That would fail after 6 months of running. But he was keeping trying and trying and trying.
Oh, wow. And you're watching this, and the family is all behind him. Was it ever kind of a loss of faith, or y'all were all about it?
Yeah, exactly. And that's funny that for him it was all about offline businesses. It was like construction, grocery store. At some point it was security agency, gym, whatever.
Oh yeah. Okay. So this is like early mid 90s, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of mid 90s, and he got into kind of established business probably by 2005, 2007.
Okay, a lot of trial and error, a lot of grit to get through that. And offline now, we're in kind of this more online world, obviously. 25 years later here, so you start that, you have some success with it, and then you decide to do some graduate study in the U.S. At Stanford. Can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe the Start X experience, some of your time in the U.S.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I said, majority of my clients, my biggest client base was from the United States. And me, with my engineering background, was like wondering, okay, how I talk same language with my clients, how do I understand business environment in the United States better? And I decided to apply to business school, got to Stanford. It was very dramatic change to me, because before I never been to the United States.
Okay.
I was kind of doing a business with the United States remotely, and being serving clients from the United States, but never been to the United States before. So it was like a very dramatic change to me. Getting to California, getting to Stanford, completely different environment, which is kind of so much different from like everything I knew in Russia.
For sure. That Palo Alto weather is a little bit different than it is out there.
A little bit different,
That's great.
Particularly in winter.
Oh yeah. I spent November to March in Russia in 2017-18, and I can tell you I experienced that firsthand. All right, well, interesting. And then so coming out of that, you still have this data center business. And then I guess at Stanford, is that when you come across Bitcoin for the first time?
Yes, exactly. I came across Bitcoin at Stanford, and that idea was really fascinating to me. As that kind of opportunity to transfer value between the people in any place across the world, like without any regulation, without centralized party. Because coming from Russia, country with pretty rigid, pretty strict foreign exchange controls, not to the degree of China, but people from China would understand what I mean. Currency control is very strict in Russia. So it was a fascinating idea to me that you can transfer value so freely between different markets, between different regions, almost immediately, without any intermediaries, without need to submit some documents and stuff like that. It was a really fascinating idea to me. And coming from like telecommunications background, it was pretty easy move to me to start doing something in that space, because at that moment I had a piece of real estate in my hometown in Yekaterinburg, which I was contemplating to use for mainstream data center. But after learning about Bitcoin, I decided, okay, why not I try mining it? And in early 2015, I just bought some miners from Bitmain, got them delivered to my hometown, and I launched them in that piece of real estate I had at that moment.
Interesting.
For me, it was kind of a really natural, a really easy move, because I had experience with data centers. I had that piece of real estate. I started buying servers from China, from some other Asian markets since 2011. So got tons of experience buying equipment from that region. So it was pretty easy for me. Okay, why not we try miners instead of servers and see?
Yeah, for sure. When you were buying equipment and servers from China starting in 2011, were you going to Shenzhen? Were you visiting China and visiting these manufacturers? You were. Did you visit China when you started buying Bitcoin mining equipment, or was it kind of a smaller purchase? You were just kind of trusting the Bitmain name and making orders?
For the first order, I didn't go to China to purchase that equipment. And a reason for that was pretty simple. At that point, I already had some friends in China who I fully trusted. So I just called to them, right, have you heard about miners? Can you get them? Some of them are for me. And okay. And at that point, he purchased those devices sent to my data center, and all of that was kind of remote because I was already in the United States. My team launched those devices, and I was kind of observing how it works. And it was really fascinating to me, like distributed computing machine, like. There are a lot of kind of ideological synergies between my previous business and Bitcoin. I will explain what I mean. The name of my previous business was Servers.Global. And the idea was to provide computing services kind of on distributed basis, on distributed platform in any place in the world. And here we go. Bitcoin, distributed computing machine, distributed ledger, located in all the different places across the world. So it was such a fascinating idea to me, so much synergetic. And I was like, okay, here we go. I was looking for to implement that for so many years already. And so I was really fascinated, really excited about blockchain world, and pretty soon after launching my first operation, I went like all in on blockchain because I saw that it implements all the kind of ideas I was thinking about before. So it was very kind of natural and long thought move to me. So, and at Stanford, I decided that I would probably focus on blockchain, on mining, because like mining very natural to me. Myself, my team got a lot of experience in mainstream data centers, in technical operations, so it was a really easy field for us. We're not traders, we're not brokers, so instead of like doing some exchange stuff or building applications, for us it was very, very natural to launch a mining operation because we were in telecommunications data center business, so we did that.
I can see that would be a pretty seamless entrance. So you start mining a little bit in 2015, sort of as a test. You decided this is what you want to go into. Leaving Stanford, you first joined Renren in Beijing for a bit. Is that correct? Can you?
It was actually it was actually between my first and second year at Stanford.
Gotcha.
So between those 2 years, I spent some time in Beijing in Shenzhen company. It was a really exciting opportunity to see kind of venture capital entrepreneurship world in Beijing, in China overall from inside. It was a really fascinating experience and really tremendous networking opportunity to me. I'm very grateful for that opportunity.
That's interesting to have been able to do that. Then see the kind of infrastructure for fundraising VC startups in Palo Alto and in Beijing, and then I guess post Stanford, you head back to Russia to do this full time, which you're doing now. So can you give us a kind of a brief, some context for BitRiver, brief intro to what your kind of how the business started, and then how it's progressed the last couple of years?
Yeah, you're right. So right after Stanford, I moved from Palo Alto, from California, to pretty small industrial town somewhere in Siberia, in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. And is this because you had kind of, you knew the electricity kind of price landscape, and you said, hey, this is where I need to be if I'm Bitcoin mining, how cold affects things?
Yeah, exactly. So, first of all, I would answer a question of why Bratsk, because it's kind of a pretty random place in the middle of nowhere in the Siberia. It's actually a unique region. It's kind of probably the biggest concentration of hydropower. Probably not in the world, but definitely in Russia, and probably number 3 or of such places in the world. So there are several very large hydropower plants in that region. Bratsk hydropower plant, Ust-Ilimsk hydropower plant, Boguchanskaya hydropower plant, Irkutsk hydropower plant. All of those power plants were built in Soviet Union to supply electricity, very cheap hydroelectricity to aluminum smelters. And industry is evolving. So first of all, Soviet Union used to build everything with a lot of reserve for future growth. Not all of that reserve was realized. And also, technology is getting better. And now it takes much fewer kilowatt hours to produce a ton of aluminum than it was like 50 years ago. That's why a lot of unused excess capacity in Irkutsk region. So it was a very natural place for us to go because we knew there is a lot of excess capacity. That capacity is really cheap, it's sustainable, it's green, it's hydropower electricity. And not most importantly, but another good bonus on top of everything, it's cold there. It's really cold as well. It's cold for like 9 months a year. So we decided that it's ideal place for us to go because there is a lot of unused capacity. Energy company is very interested to work with us because we reached out to energy company and they were, yes, that's perfect. You are a perfect consumer for us. Let's establish that. We felt a lot of support from the very beginning with the energy company to build that. But I will also kind of explain how I got to this idea. So initial idea was to build a data center and do mining for ourselves. So myself and my American partner, we established a fund and decided to mine for ourselves, for our investors, for our kind of clients, buy machines, install in our own data center and mine. But there was some changes to our strategy at that moment. Some of our investors suddenly decided not to go to Russia. There was some geopolitical tension at that moment. And they were, okay, we better stay outside of country because there was some rumors about sanctions against our energy company. We worked with. At some point, it was actually put on a sanctions list, but it was removed from that list a little bit later. Now it's totally safe, but at that moment, there was a lot of turbulence around that. And our investors decided to do mining in another region. We set up that for them, but we got that facility in Bratsk. And it was a pretty tough situation for me because I was responsible for recovering money we invested in that facility for our investors. And I decided that the best opportunity is to take responsibility of that facility. So I took all the liabilities of that facility and I got money from my telecommunications business and turned that facility into mining data center. So it was a pretty tough period of time for me to completely pivot the business idea because initially it was, okay, we've got machines, we've got a data center, everything's simple. And suddenly I got unfinished facility, some liabilities to people who invested money in that facility and no machines. All right.
Yeah, no kidding. Goodness. Quite the start. Who were your investors initially? Were they Russian investors? Were they from around China, from the US?
Primarily from the United States.
Yeah, sure. Where sanctions would obviously be the most concerning. and so you have to think on your feet, pivot pretty quickly. So what was kind of those initial business lines? What was the focus? What did the business look like at first, and how I guess how's it kind of grown product wise? I know y'all do more than just mining, more than hosting.
Yeah, like after I started managing that facility, the choice was pretty simple for me. It was very resonating with my previous experience, and I decided to build, launch, and operate one of the largest, highest standard of servers data center for mining equipment. I was looking around, seeing as was like shady type of things, data centers for miners, and decided that's not sustainable, because I believed strongly, and I believe now that the market is getting more mature, more institutional, more institutionalized, and when like institutional investor is looking for data center, they need to see kind of a very transparent, very high standard, very reliable operation, and not like some shady garage in a random place. And I decided that we will be operating in that business and focus fully on infrastructure, on quality of servers, on reliability, on providing highest uptime. So we have like everything what necessary to do that. We established a repair center. We had engineers to work 24/7. Mm-hmm. We also, it's kind of,
your engineers, are they Russian? Are they kind of at first were you bringing in folks from China to help set up? What did that process look like?
No, from the day one, all the engineers were Russians. I just asked several of my team members from Yekaterinburg to move to Bratsk. They did that. They assembled a team on the ground. They trained that team. Kind of operating mining machines is very similar to operating traditional servers. Mm-hmm. And having that experience, they were able to establish a very strong operations team on the ground, construction team on the ground. From day one, almost all my employees were local to Bratsk. Mm-hmm. We never relied on kind of external workforce.
Yeah.
Workforce for us.
Interesting. And then, so you kind of talked about that customer base leaning more to you seeing it leaning more towards kind of institutional folks in the future. Can you give us kind of a breakdown of customer base now? Is it majority institutional? Do you do?
Yeah. So currently we have clients from 17 different countries, mm-hmm. and most of them, like I would say, probably around 90%, all of them are institutional, large-scale clients. And I believe that this is very aligned with my vision of the market. It's getting more institutionalized, more and more kind of traditional players get into this industry. Mm-hmm. And they're looking for high standards of quality. But yeah, we do have some more type of smaller clients, but they are primarily Russians. So strategically we focus on international markets. But we are located in Bratsk, and sometimes people from Moscow, from Russia, from Irkutsk region reaching out to us. All right, we have those machines. Can you offer hosting services to us? We accept those clients, and they represent those 10% not institutional clients we have.
Can you give us a bit of a sense of that scale? Maybe not exactly kind of per client, but the scale you're working with at that site. And what most of these clients are looking for coming in, I guess?
Well, I mean, most of our clients is kind of few megawatt, 10 megawatt, 15 megawatt type of scale. But on kind of low end, as I said, we have some smaller clients. And they might be 10 machines, 50 machines. Also, some of my employees also mining in our facility, so they have even smaller number of machines, 10 machines, several machines. Mm-hmm. So I would say pretty large range from a few machines to like 10, 15, 20,000 machines per client.
Yeah. And can you share kind of total capacity that you can support now?
So our facility in Bratsk is in total 100 megawatt. It's almost fully filled with the machines right now. We have probably around 20 megawatt right now to fill. But at the same time, we are launching construction of a new facility also in Irkutsk region, which is going to be a little bit over 100 megawatts. So we are looking to double the capacity.
Yeah, very cool.
Because the demand is pretty strong. So as I said, we have around 80 megawatt right now, but also we have a pipeline, people who will get devices in October, in September, and to support their business, we are building a new facilities or expanding. Because as well as 20 megawatt, I believe we will fill during the summer.
And I guess that process for acquiring the hardware, can you talk a little bit about the kind of the way the market's set up in Russia for that now? Is it, are you helping kind of all these folks pull in from the source? Is the secondary market pretty competitive? What's the kind of market for hardware look like in Russia right now? And getting it to these more kind of remote places in Siberia, just give us some context for that.
Kind of funny thing about remote places in Siberia is that it's only a 3 hours flight from Beijing.
Okay, yeah.
So it's much closer to China than like many data centers somewhere in the United States, in Scandinavia, and so on. But kind of to the point, we usually help our clients to connect with the manufacturers directly. We have a pretty strong relations with most of them, so we just connect our clients directly to the manufacturers and help them deliver devices to our data center. We're not looking into reselling devices. It's much more natural for us just to connect our client to the manufacturer, introduce them, and allow them to negotiate on everything. And after that, after devices are ready, we just help our clients to deliver them to the data center. I believe it's a more natural and more transparent business model. Regarding secondary market in Russia, it exists. It's a little bit less developed than, for example, in China. Prices tend to be significantly higher than in China or even in the United States.
Significantly, what kind of percent are you talking about?
Probably 2 times higher than in China, and probably around like 25% higher than in the United States. It's my approximate sense of that. I don't really have a good explanation for that, except that used devices are really popular amongst, like, residential miners who have like 1 machine, 2 machines. And the reason for that is very simple. Russia is very different in terms of electricity prices, for example, from the United States. In the United States, it's kind of a market economy. More you consume, less you pay. It's pretty natural. So residential users have pretty high electricity prices. In Russia, we still, country government subsidize residential users. So industrial clients, like our data center, would pay a little bit higher than like residential users. So some residential users, retail users in rural area, they are paying a really low price for electricity, and they are open to buy like older generation used but cheap devices, because they have very cheap electricity, but they don't have a lot of money. So they're looking for like older generation used machines. And there are a lot of people like that in the country. So like smaller scale, really distributed, like mining is very popular in Russia. There are a lot of people who doing smaller scale mining with like 1 to 5 machines. Those people are driving the whole secondary market, buying machines. But at the same time, secondary market is kind of a little bit random in Russia. There are no kind of organized players who arrange the market, who set up deals and stuff like that. So it's very chaotic. So those residential people kind of call in, sending emails to different data centers, saying, do you have any old devices for sale, and so on.
Okay, interesting. Are there like Telegram groups and stuff that are?
There are a lot of them asking, okay, I'm looking to buy 2 devices, 2 used devices, who have them to sale.
Yeah. That's interesting about the kind of makeup of the electricity pricing market there, and obviously it's a part of the equation. So that's interesting on the retail side. So you're not trying to get in. You're not a middleman helping directly folks acquire miners. You connect with kind of the bigger companies. What are you seeing on kind of trends for what people are looking to buy now? Have you seen any change from who people are who your people are wanting to be connected with in China? And then is there in getting stuff from mostly as China to Siberia or other places where these larger farms are? Is it a trucking thing? Trains? You said it's a 3-hour flight. What's kind of the way that most of the stuff is getting in?
Yeah, so I would say that for Russia overall, the most popular way to get miners to the country, to the facility, is by tracks, because it's relatively quick. It's much faster than by train. At the same time, it's much cheaper than by airplane. So most people are going off for that way of delivery. It's relatively quick. It's like I would say 10 to 15 days, so around 1.5 to 2 weeks. And
is there a tax on the import? Still, is there political debate around that?
There is no tax on import of the devices. There is VAT, a value-added tax for imported devices, but it's kind of tricky tax because you're getting it back. And we're helping our clients to work with that. For some clients set up their local entities to get it back. For clients who cannot or don't want to set up a local entity, we help to get that tax back. So it's kind of a tricky tax. It's not direct like a duty. You pay that much percent and you're not getting it back. For VAT, there is an opportunity to get it back. So I would say that there are some expense related to get it back, like administration expense, because you're not getting it back immediately. You're getting back it in 3 months, in 4 months. But beyond that, there are no any like import taxes or anything in Russia.
Yeah. And so you have some of this when you talk about kind of other business, so you don't want to exactly be in kind of the middleman business in terms of secondary market selling or in that sense, the kind of hardware upkeep, fixing, is that something that you do at all? So you do it internally, obviously. Do y'all do any repairs, any kind of that service for other folks? Is that something that is in demand? Is it mostly all done kind of on site by these bigger farms?
Yeah, as I said, like our priority is to provide highest possible uptime to our clients. And obviously, like fixing devices on site is one important component of that. So we have a repair center on site. It's certified by Bitmain. It's certified by InnoSilicon. Before pandemic started, there were plans to get certificates of all remaining manufacturers. But now we're waiting a little bit to get that. But like people are trained, and even now we repair like almost all types of devices, because like it's not very different from device to another type of device.
Mm-hmm. All right, so your largest data center now is in Siberia. Can you talk a little bit about kind of where mining in Russia is, if there's growth in any other regions, if there's growth, we've heard a lot about growth into places like Kazakhstan. Can you talk about kind of the trends in mining geography, specifically in the CIS, and also share a little bit about the kind of political regulatory situation in the CIS for mining, and if there are any trends there that you're seeing?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, about Russia. In Russia, like Irkutsk region, Krasnoyarsk region, it's neighboring regions, a capital of mining in Russia. A couple of reasons for that. No, not couple. One reason for that. Very cheap electricity. A lot of hydropower and very cheap electricity. So Irkutsk region, Krasnoyarsk region is the capital of mining in Russia. People build in like a different scale. Mining facilities, some go for garage mining with like a couple hundred devices, some go for larger scale, but definitely it's highest concentration of miners in Russia. Mm-hmm. In terms of CIS, yes, you're right, mining is getting more popular in Kazakhstan right now, and Kazakhstan is interesting region. Prices there is also relatively low, probably just a little bit higher than in Bratsk in Irkutsk region, just a tiny bit. A little bit easier to return VAT. This kind of on positive side, a little bit easier. But at the same time, and some clients really care about that, electricity there is generated not by hydropower. It's coal-fired power plants, relatively old, with a lot of inefficiency in generation. So what is going on? People are buying very old coal-fired power plants, and because it's kind of getting private, it's getting out of regulation. There are no mandated repairs, there are no mandated upgrades to the power plants. They've been able to get a relatively cheap price per kilowatt hour, which is relatively getting pretty close to prices for hydropower in Irkutsk region. For example, in Russia, people cannot get similar prices on coal-fired power plants, even located close to resource base, where coal is excavated, because regulation is very strict, and people need to show like modernization program, upgrade program for the facility, and so on. There is no such strict regulation in Kazakhstan.
Are these upgrades that are like emissions types of upgrades, or like safety types of upgrades?
Everything, like increasing efficiency, decreasing environmental effect of the power plant, and safety. In Kazakhstan, it's relatively liberal, so you buy power plant and you run it almost as you wish. Gotcha. So prices are relatively low. So yeah, and
you're trading that a little bit also for the maybe lack of certainty around access to coal, or lack of what are kind of the risk factors that you're looking at when you're there versus Russia with that lower power cost?
No, I mean, kind of Kazakhstan has a lot of coal, and all of those power plants are located close to a resource base. So coal supply is not a big risk factor. Biggest kind of risk factors is that you're getting a very old thermal power plant. And obviously, your biggest efficiency point when you can sell both electricity to mining and heat. But when too many power plants are used for mining, you cannot sell that much heat. That's why your electricity price is getting a little bit higher, because now you can sell only electricity for mining. You cannot sell heat because it's getting too much of heat, and it's getting a little bit less economically efficient. And I believe probably 1 year ago when everything of that started, electricity prices for mining in Kazakhstan were even lower than in Irkutsk region, than in Bratsk. But people very quickly understood that they still needed to maintain their power plants, invest at least some money in upgrades of equipment. They also need to think that they cannot sell heat and so on. So prices get a little bit higher as people getting a little bit more mature in operating those assets.
Right, makes sense.
My kind of sense is that to understand where electricity is cheap, at least in a CIS region, it's really important to look at industries located there, because the Soviet Union was a very, kind of central organized. So as a government was thinking we have very cheap electricity in this region, so let's set up all the kind of high electricity consumption industries in that region. Let's set up aluminum smelters there. Let's set up other industries in that region. And this region is Irkutsk region and Krasnoyarsk region in Siberia. Kazakhstan was also part of Soviet Union, but it was never considered by a place to locate kind of aluminum smelters. It was kind of more natural base to transmit electricity to central part of country, to Moscow. There was 1 million volt power line in kind of construction between Kazakhstan and Moscow, because it's not as cheap as in Siberia, but it's much cheaper than in the central part of Russia. So let's supply electricity to central part of Russia.
Interesting. And you touched on kind of the regulatory factors for the power facilities, regulatory factors for Bitcoin mining in particular. What can you give us a sense of the current state and any kind of trends you're seeing for the future?
So in CIS, regulation is kind of fully developed and very supportive towards Bitcoin mining in countries like Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Belarus. All of them are really, really supportive. Russia is a little bit behind here. And the reason for that is a relatively strict central bank of Russian Federation, which is looking to regulate kind of circulation of cryptocurrencies in the country. And they kind of getting very interesting tactics to get their ideas through. They kind of saying, let's ban everything, but everyone understands in the country that it's kind of as a bargaining point. We're not banning everything, but we're banning exchange for fiat. We're banning using Bitcoin for purchases, because I do honestly understand the situation in the country. I do not expect those operations to be open in the country, to be permitted in the next probably couple of years at least. But mining is very synergetic to economy of Russia. It's very natural to the country because there is a lot of unused power. We also create jobs in remote places. So all the authorities, local, regional, central, are very friendly towards mining. And even though currently there is a debate before second reading of new legislation around mining, still we feel a lot of support towards mining industry in Russia.
Can you also give us a sense of how kind of distributed or localized that regulation, those kind of relationships that you need to make sure are good are? We hear a lot in China about miners in Sichuan and talking to the local governments there versus in Beijing. Give us a sense of how I guess distributed that kind of is in Russia, I guess.
Russia is not centralized. Russia is not distributed in this regard. Russia is very, very centralized. So it's all about federal legislation. So there are no difference between the regions in this regard. Okay. It's very centralized. There is no difference. Difference is only in electricity prices. That's it.
Got it. And then so you've operated data centers all over, really all over the world. Are there any other, and I guess a trend that we've seen kind of discussed, especially folks in the U.S. who have a little bit of a bias there, but this kind of geographical distribution globally of mining, maybe in some senses a trend towards places that are simply more for people in the U.S. most stability. So they're Nebraska and Texas and places like this. What's your sense of, not a very specific question, but what do you kind of see happening to distribution of mining over the next few years in general? Do you see Russia is still the best opportunity for growth there? Obviously, you're expanding your operation another 100 megawatts this year. What do you see as the kind of general trend there? And then what are you looking to do, if anything, outside of Russia, CIS, other places? What are your general thoughts on geographic distribution, I guess?
Yeah, so I really believe that mining is getting much more distributed in the next couple of years. The kind of reason for that is that people in places, in countries with a little bit more tricky regulation, more strict rules, more strict kind of energy codes get into the industry. For example, in Russia, it took us a lot of time to educate energy company, to educate like local authorities. Now they're fully supportive, but like we were a little bit slower to start than, for example, China. And now we are growing very quickly, setting up new facilities, not only us, but like a country overall. Same with Kazakhstan. And new CIS countries get into this market, like Uzbekistan. Very soon, I believe we will see like Belarus come to this market and so on. Mm-hmm. And this is definitely good for distribution, because like mining is getting distributed, not kind of concentrated, not only in China, but distributed across multiple different regions. And people spent a lot of time to find creative, innovative ways to get cheap electricity in the United States. So mining is getting much more popular there. And I believe it's really good for overall distribution of hash power, of mining capacity, because more and more new regions are getting to this field. For many of them, it was kind of not very obvious that electricity would be that inexpensive or that cheap. But after people spent some time and effort working with local regulators, they got the cheap electricity. In other places, it was like probably not on the radar of many people, but it's getting more common. And I believe like overall trend is for mining to be much more evenly distributed around the world. Now it's overly concentrated in China, but ourselves, many other players like us are working to get it distributed and more common in different markets. And obviously, like after we set up a large facility, for example, in Bratsk, it's getting attention of local people. They get all right, as those guys in Bitcoin, what Bitcoin is. We have a cheap residential power. Why not we buy some used devices from those guys and start running up? So I believe it's really good for like also education of people, because like if there are no exchanges, no mining operations in certain region, people just naturally cannot learn about that. But for example, in Bratsk, we have like a lot of contractors who come and do some construction for us. After that, they're coming back to us saying, all right, can you tell us about Bitcoin, what it is, what economics of Bitcoin is? And we see those people kind of buying a small quantity of devices. Sometimes like regular workers coming to us, okay, what is Bitcoin? Can we buy one mining machine? We have a very cheap residential power in our apartment. And I believe like it all works for distribution, kind of educating people around the world. if kind of all the hash power is concentrated in one country, it's really hard for people around the world to understand it and get into mining space. But after there are like more and more large institutional facilities in different regions, it's getting more kind of natural for local people to start doing that as well.
For sure. And for these, so distribution is kind of a trend that you're talking about for the institutional folks who are wanting to have part of their distribution maybe of where they're mining be with you and in Russia. What are you getting a sense of trends in the makeup of those institutions? Is it kind of family offices that are wanting to do this? Are you seeing any? Are you getting any interest from kind of government bodies in Russia, or from maybe energy companies that are looking to maybe do a trial run with someone who's more experienced before doing something with their own capacity? What are trends you're seeing in institutions?
Yeah, I would say that first of all, definitely family offices, because they are very flexible in their mandates. So family offices, industrial companies, large industrial companies are getting to this play as well, but it takes them a little bit longer time because of like internal regulations, internal procedures, but they also get into the play. Governmental bodies would get to the play, I believe, the last after all the regulation is fully set up in the country.
Yeah. Are you for the people who you're kind of who you are kind of their expert on the industry coming in? Are you helping them with kind of the next steps of, all right, now we're mining, what do we do now? Are you helping with any of the kind of connections to like OTC brokers or exchanges? Is that something you do at all, or you're straight mining and then they do what they want after?
It's definitely not a business for us, but like some introductions, some connections. Yes, obviously we're doing that because like some people who are relatively new to the space, they're reaching out. Okay, how do we exchange? What OTC do we use? What exchange do we use? Yes, that's definitely takes place, but like it's not a major kind of area of attention for us. For sure. It's kind of more kind of discussion, speaking to our clients and trying to help them.
For sure. And then in terms of mining pools, there's been I think a lot of competition from the pools to be known in the CIS region to grab that business. Who are you seeing is doing the best job of making inroads? And then what is the process of, at least for y'all, what does the process look like of winning your business, and kind of how do you think about what pools to work with?
It's very simple. Our responsibility as a mining data center operator is to prepare all the necessary infrastructure for our clients to choose from different pools. So we work with almost all large pools to establish reliability of channels, internet channels, to deploy the servers on site just to minimize any delays. So our responsibility is to provide very robust, very reliable, and fast infrastructure for our clients to use, and it's up to our clients to choose different pools.
Got it. And then any kind of final thoughts on general trends you're seeing coming out of the halving, specifically in Russia? Maybe was it a pickup of interest around news about the halving, what it was? What kind of price trends are you thinking about coming up?
I would say that first of all, like we see that many people, many like family offices who were kind of waiting till halving are now actively putting money into new generation machines. I believe I mean like S19s and so on. For them, halving is just one uncertainty removed from the equation. They were waiting for that because they were wondering what would happen after that. And now they just started spending money on devices. So I believe like a halving is a very well predicted event. We know when the second halving would happen, so it's not kind of random stuff. But people were waiting until halving just to understand what would happen in first months after halving, and now spending money and buying more machines.
For sure. All right. Well, thanks for covering all this. I guess our last thing that we do is a recommendation. So one recommendation that's something from where you are, from Moscow, from something in Russia, be a movie, book, food. Give us one recommendation for folks who may be coming there at some point.
All right, cool. Lake Baikal. Lake Baikal is the largest by volume lake in the world. It's located in the region. Yeah, pretty close to our facility, like just a couple, not couple, but several hours driving from our facility. And it's just amazing. It's just so beautiful. It's beautiful in winter. It's beautiful in summer. I believe it's just a huge natural attraction. And also it's kind of source of Lake Angarai, which gives us a lot of power in Siberia. A beautiful place just to check, to visit. And after Lake Baikal, happy to show our data center.
There you go. Do you have a dacha yourself over by the lake?
In other place, because I'm initially not from Irkutsk region, so my dacha is in different place.
All right, good deal. Well, thanks for your time, and we'll have to talk to you again for some more insights as mining and the CIS and Russia in particular in the news.
Sure. Thank you very much.
Quick reminder, all of the content in this episode is for informational purposes only. You should not construe any such information or other material as legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Nothing contained in this presentation constitutes a solicitation, recommendation, endorsement, or offer by BTC Media, the Let's Talk Bitcoin podcast network, or any third-party service provider to buy or sell any securities or other financial instruments.